Every single disease known to man, and I hate the word disease, but since y'all identify with it, I'm gonna say it. But there's not one disease that I know of that exists that's not associated or connected with a parasite. And what I mean by parasite, I'm talking about a living, multi-dimensional entity that can pleomorphosize itself, meaning it can change and shapeshift its shape and size depending on the condition of your terrain or your body. And when it poops, it creates something called auto intoxication. And the toxins that these things leave over give you all types of symptomatic drivers that give you symptoms. And then you go to the doctor, and instead of them checking you for parasitic infection, they literally just give you a label and call it disease. There is no disease that you can truly name or that they have titled as a disease that is not parasite driven. Now, am I saying that these parasites are causing disease? I think that the terrain happened from an acidic side first. First, you come into contact with processed foods, or you come in contact with environmental pollutants. You eating things that you're not supposed to be eating. You smoking, you drinking, you bringing some type of toxins in, and then you're not getting rid of the toxins by detoxifying. The body starts to corrode and go through a state of what you will call oxidation, where your cells begin to rust. And through this rusting process, if you're not bringing in any electrons or bringing in any alkalining agents to help alkaline the body, to bring the body in a balance of homeostasis, what happens is you start depriving the cells of oxygen. You start making homes and start making a bedding for things to live inside of you. I tell people all the time, you can't miss the parasites. They're going to come. They come through water. They come through spring water. They come through fresh water. They come through river water. They come through ocean water. They come through your soil. A lot of us like the ground, so you can get hookworms, roundworms, and pinworms just by walking and grounding. They come through skin to skin contact, like for instance, what you will call herpes dermatitis, which is a form of herpes, but is actually a fluke worm. It's called a hemith worm. You can get them from eating, especially eating certain types of meat, like for instance, trichonellia. Trichonellia is a worm, a roundworm parasitic that come from eating pork, come from eating chicken, come from eating cows, come from eating even sheep, or what you would call lamb. So you gonna get parasites. When it comes to America, we don't get on a quarterly parasitic cleanse. So we let these parasites build up in us. Then they start infesting us. And it goes through something called larva migration, where they start producing all of this larva, and they go through their sex cycles and start producing eggs. And then these eggs get into the system. They start messing up the signaling. Because I told y'all last time that most of the signals that come from the eggs are estrogen and progesterone and testosterone like. Just like you have sexual chemistry and sexual hormones, these parasites that's inside of you have the same things. These things drive up your hormone markers, and they start making your glandular highway, what I'm going to call the endocrine system, out of whack. This drives and proliferate tissues. This called tumor genesis, where tumors begin to form. It also causes cysts, where you start seeing cysts pop up everywhere. Most of the cysts that's inside of your fallopian tubes, the cyst that's on the endometrium lining of your cervix, women, the cyst that's on the prostate when your prostate becomes swollen, the cyst that's in these different areas are actually parasite nest. Hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes mellitus, hyperglycemia, which is another parasitic hemith fluke worm. It's called Uretrema pancreaticum. And it's a fluke worm that lodges itself inside of the pancreas. It causes these inflammatory responses, and it chews on what you would call the tissues and the islands of Langerhans that makes the alpha cells and makes the beta cells. We know that the alpha cells produce glycogen hormone, and we know that the beta cells produce the insulin hormone, which help you utilize and bring sugar inside the cell. So this is what you would call the life cycle of trichinella. You can get trichinella from your beef. You can get it from your pork. These parasitics come with a certain form of intelligence. The more you try to kill them, they go through stages of evolution where their bodies will adapt and they can live longer. Always look at a parasite as an entity that needs you as a host to experience reality. This roundworm causes high blood pressure. When you eat pork, or when you eat beef, or when you eat all of these meats, what happened is these meats have a cyst on it. When you look at a cyst, it's nothing but an encapsulated parasite larva egg. Well, these fibrin tissues are made of protein coat, so it's very hard to break down. So even if you get the meat and they have cysts on them, and you say, well, I'm just going to wash them real good, which you can't really wash them off because they're embedded in the tissues of the flesh. And then you say, well, I'm going to fry it or cook it to high heat. It is hard for the heat to actually penetrate the cyst to get to the larva eggs of Trichinella because of this hard fibrous mesh around it. So you end up eating it. Once you eat it and your hydrochloric acid in your stomach break it down, then it is released. It's get released into something called the duodenum. Once it get released inside the duodenum, it get picked up. It's called Parasites.